Happy Tuesday. I hope you had a great weekend and you are ready for some sewing inspiration this morning. Let me know where you are listening and watching from in the comments and the live chat. I would love to hear from you and see all of those familiar names and faces. I have some exciting news, of course, as usual. Right now, we are in the throes of our anniversary celebration. So if you joined us on Friday for our special edition So What episode with Jason Prater, the president of Sulky, you may have been a lucky bingo winner. We had such a great time playing bingo, and I thank you all so much for bearing with us for the very first time ever that we did Sulky Bingo live. We had some hurdles to jump through, but all in all, I think everybody had a great time. And, it was super fun. So part of our anniversary celebration is some great daily deals at sulky.com. Today, we have an amazing deal. When you use, you don't even need a coupon for this. It's already 50% off. Our Boho Bonnie Bag Kit. This was one of our most popular video casts of all time. We partnered with the American Sewing Guild and we put together this Boho Bonnie bag, which we designed in collaboration with Sally Tomato. We created some beautiful large-scale floral embroideries to fit the bag dimensions. Sally Tomato created the bag pattern. American Sewing Guild joined us with their membership, and it was one of the greatest video casts. So, you can find that video cast and watch it in its entirety at sewingonline.sulky.com. And you can now grab the kit for 50% off. So pretty amazing. This is a really, really great deal. I believe it's less than $55 or something like that. And you'll get canvas fabric, cork fabric, embroidery threads, construction threads, everything you need to create a fantastic bag. So this is part of our 10 days of deals. I hope you grab up this bag before it sells out, because when it's gone, it's gone. And speaking of that, we also unveiled our golden ticket mystery box on Friday, and there are very few left. I may even have to surrender mine. Just kidding, I won't. The whole reason we're calling it the golden ticket mystery box is because one box is going to contain a Sulky golden ticket, which is redeemable for a $250 shopping spree at sulky.com. So I unveiled the contents of my mystery box on Friday. If you happen to miss that, you can watch it in its entirety on our YouTube channel. We have all of our So What episodes listed there in a playlist. And you can also probably scroll back on your Facebook feed or go to our Twitch page and watch Friday's episode if you want to see what was in my box. And that just might persuade you to purchase a box yourself, because first of all, you could win the golden ticket, and second of all, you'll get more than $77 worth of worth of goodies in your box for only $34.99. So a really, really great deal, and just like those Boho Bonnie bags, once they're gone, and you'll have to wait for the next mystery box to arrive, and we'll have to see when that is. So Linda's asking, what is a Twitch page? Great question, Linda. So Twitch is another streaming platform, much like YouTube Live or Facebook Live. You can go to Twitch and find our Sulky page. And we started streaming there as well a couple of weeks ago, just to give people another platform if they don't have a Facebook account or if they have trouble logging into YouTube. They can watch us live on So What over on Twitch. So it's just another streaming platform. All right. Suzanne says, ordered a mystery box. Excited to receive it. Let me know if you already ordered your mystery box. Give me a thumbs up. I'm so excited to hear who wins the golden ticket. We might have to have like, you know, a blog post about the winner or something fun like that. All right. Colleen says, I made 2 Boho Bonnie bags, easy and fun, very sturdy. Yes, I made 2 as well, one with the hand embroidery version and one with the machine embroidery. And then, of course, I did tons and tons of step outs and embroidery tests and all kinds of things to bring you all, hopefully, the best education you can find for that Bonnie bag. All right. Yvonne says, I ordered 2 on Friday and keeping my fingers crossed that I will get the lucky ticket. I'm pulling for you. All right. So today we are going to talk about some patriotic projects because, you know, July 4th is going to be here before we know it. And I have lots of neighbors who already have their flags out. They put them up for Memorial Day and they just kind of stay up for the summer. It's a great way to decorate for the summer and decorate to celebrate and all of those good things. So I'm going to be bringing you a really cute, quick and easy patriotic project that you can make. But before I get to that, I also want to remind everyone that only 9 days remain to enter to win or vote for your favorite Casey duffel bag. This was our other video cast that we put on with American Sewing Guild this year in February. We did the Casey duffel bag, and I showed how to embroider and embellish that front pocket. We talked about sewing with faux leather. We talked about creating structure in bags. We talked about, you know, some pattern modifications and all kinds of things to help you through making this bag. This is a more intermediate bag, whereas that Boho Bonnie bag is about beginner, confident beginner to intermediate. This one is more intermediate to advanced, in my opinion. There are some challenging aspects of this bag, so it's a really fun make, especially for the summer. You can take this bag on your travels. Here is one of my prototypes for this bag, and the bag that I made, or the bags that I made using the kits that are at sulky.com, I have those packed away because I will be traveling to the American Sewing Guild conference next week to teach, to vend, and to announce the winner of the Casey Duffel photo contest. So next week, So What is going to be at a little bit different time and day so that I can be on the vendor hall and at the American Sewing Guild conference, reporting live to all of you so you can see what goes on there. And I'll announce the winner of the photo contest. And the winner is going to receive more than $1,900 worth of goodies, prizes, and gifts to outfit the sewing room of your dreams. You will win a Brother sewing machine. You will win threads and stabilizers from Sulky. You will win a Cork membership from Sally Tomato. You will win a membership to the ASG, American Sewing Guild, Fashion Sewing Club, a scissor and rotary cutter bundle from Havel's. There's just so many things that you could win simply by uploading a photo of your finished Casey duffel bag. If you haven't made your Casey duffel bag yet, you can go to sewingonline.sulky.com, watch our video cast, get all the tips and tricks and videos from Sally Tomato as well. Nothing better than hearing from the pattern designer herself when you are going through a pattern, especially if you've never gone through a Sally Tomato pattern before. You could still grab the kits at sulky.com, and it might just arrive in time for you to finish that bag, upload your photo, and then go out there and get some votes from your family and friends. But this is my prototype bag. I just wanted to show you just how large scale it is. It's a really, really great travel duffel that has an upscale feel to it because we're using those great designer fabrics, the faux leathers, the contrasting pieces, the embroidered pocket. You can make this as upscale or as casual as you want. And if you head on over to the Casey Duffel photo contest page and scroll through all of the photos, you'll see so many different takes on this bag. Some have rickrack trim. Some are made all in one fabric. Some have lots of different contrasting fabrics. Lots of them are made out of the kit. Some really beautiful takes on this bag pattern. So that's inspiration in and of itself. And I hope that you go and vote for your favorite and, of course, upload your own photo. But anyway, this is my prototype. And, you know, between me and you, it has a lot of issues because I was kind of experimenting with, you know, let's say somebody has this problem. How do we recover from that? And let me see if I do it this way, will it still work out? So this is a little bit of a mess, but you know what? Nobody's going to look at it with a microscope. Only me. Only I will do that. We are our own worst critics, aren't we? I added a little tassel to this one on a key ring that I can put some keys onto, or even just a label or a luggage tag. And it's got two different handle options. You can use these handles, or you can use this adjustable strap that you can, you know, wear as a messenger bag style, or shorten it up and just have it close to your body. So lots of different wearing options for this. I love that this strap is completely removable with these swivel D-ring or these swivel clips. So cool. And Sally Tomato, we have included their hardware in these kits so that you get the highest quality. There are different finishes. This one is the gunmetal finish. And, you know, speaking about making it upscale, adding these elements like a zipper that matches the finish of your hardware, you know, just those little things can really make a difference in your finished bag. Also, what's great about this bag is look at the side here. You undo this clip, and then your bag can hold even more and takes on a totally different shape. So instead of a duffel, you have more of a large scale tote bag. It's just the coolest design. I really, really love it. And I think that you will too. All right. So inside, somebody said, let's see the inside. We've got two outside pockets. Mine kind of blend in because I use the same fabric in my prototype. But this is where we added all the embellishment on that outer pocket. There's also two inside pockets as well. So lots of storage. Again, a great, great travel bag. If you're joining us on our craft tours trip to Germany, Italy, and Austria in September, bring your Casey bag because it's going to be great to go from location to location. And when we do all of our fabric shopping and all of our shopping in Milan and Florence, if you are going on the Florence post tour, you're going to need a lot of room for all the goodies that you're buying. All right. So that's my spiel on the Casey Duffel. Oops, excuse me. I hope that you all make one because your life just isn't complete until you have a Casey Duffel. All right. So on to our patriotic project of the day, which is this adorable bike bag. Now, whether you ride a bike or know someone who rides a bike, like a granddaughter, grandson, daughter, son, niece, nephew, all of those types of things. This is really great for any size bike. I put it on my bike, and it works out great. So while you're making it, it seems like it's coming together and it's really rather small. But once you get it on the bike and you start filling it with stuff, it is the perfect size and it has great structure to it. So it's not going to be all floppy when you're out there riding your bike. And I don't know about you, but our neighborhood has a little bike parade for the kids every year on July 4 weekend. We all kind of come together. Some people put their sprinklers out. We, bring popsicles and it's super fun. And the kids dress up their bikes and we have little crafts and it's a really great time. So I thought this was the perfect project to add a little patriotic embroidery, some bling, some Polysparkle thread, and kind of theme it up for those bike parades that go on. So you could definitely use the design of your choice. You could add a name, a monogram, a phrase, something like that to personalize the bike bucket bag that you are making. I want to start by saying that this is not my pattern. I did not develop this great bike pattern. I'm going to share with you the embroidery instructions and a few pattern modifications that I made while I was working through the pattern. The pattern is by Noodlehead. I linked to it in the description of today's post, so you can go directly to it. And excuse me, if you're not seeing all the links for today's post, hit that little see more button and the whole thing will pop out. You'll see all the links to everything I'm talking about today. The full description for what I'm going to share with you is on the Sulky blog at blog.sulky.com. It'll be the first post that comes up if you're watching live today. If not, you can link directly to the post in the description today. All right, so the pattern is by Noodlehead, and she has a lot of great posts on her blog. I came across this one, and I just thought the whole front of this bag lends itself so well to some larger scale machine embroidery. So I chose our Ride with Pride design. It's from our Uncle Sam machine embroidery palette. And this machine embroidery palette, I've been talking about it quite a bit lately because I've made several projects featuring these designs. So when you grab a machine embroidery palette at sulky.com, it comes with all the threads that you need to create the design collection. It also comes with the collection itself. So you will get 11 spools of assorted sulky thread. You'll get some rayon thread as well as some Polysparkle thread. And, you know, we always want to add those sparkly decorative threads for our patriotic designs, right? So that's absolutely perfect. You see the red, white, and cute design. I featured that on a t-shirt a little while back. The fireflies design, I featured that on a pillow. Let's see, I did the Uncle Sam hat on a table runner. And now we're featuring that bicycle design, the Ride with Pride design. And I'm going to show you that on this great bicycle bag. It would be super cute on a t-shirt as well. So if you would like any of those other tutorials, you can search blog.sulky.com. In the search bar, just put in Uncle Sam, and you'll find all of those projects that I just talked about. Let's see. Here are all the threads that you will get with the Uncle Sam palette. So like I said, you get an assortment of rayon threads as well as 4 of those great Polysparkle threads in the perfect designs for the Uncle Sam palette, as well as lots of other designs that I'm sure you're going to make for summer and for the patriotic designs that maybe you have on hand. So in your color sequence chart that comes with your design, it's going to indicate which thread to use for which portion of the design. And that's rather important to pay attention to that because some machines are not going to recognize those Polysparkle thread numbers because Polysparkle is such a new thread. And every time we come out with a new thread, all the different machine manufacturers have to kind of load those thread colors into their software when they're creating designs. And as you can imagine, it's very challenging to make that happen, especially make it happen in a timely manner. So when we design when we digitize our designs, we have digitized portions of the Uncle Sam palette or the Uncle Sam collection to accept those Polysparkle designs or those Polysparkle threads. So Polysparkle is a 30 weight thread, whereas rayon is a 40 weight thread. So those portions of the design that are digitized for the heavier weight thread, if you accidentally use the rayon for those portions of the design, it's still going to stitch out pretty great, but you might notice that the fill or the satin stitches aren't as close together as they would be had you used that thicker thread in those areas. Does that make sense? So just keep that in mind. I want to make sure that you're consulting that color sequence chart because if you load this design into your machine and it doesn't recognize Polysparkle, it might default to a rayon color, and you won't know that that portion of the design was digitized for the heavier thread. So you really need to pull up your color sequence chart. You can print it out, highlight those color stop steps so that you know, oh, this is the 30 weight and this is the color that was intended by the digitizer. All right, so just something to note. Now, like I said, you could use any design that you want for this bike bag. If, you know, the recipient of this gift loves butterflies, by all means, do some really great butterfly designs. But I wanted to show you some other patriotic designs that we have at sulky.com. We actually have a little patriotic shop within sulky.com where you can shop all things patriotic. This is a patriotic palette. It's called the Patriotic Palette. And this is our giveaway today for So What. So one lucky person who is watching, commenting on the live stream, giving us those thumbs up, hearts, all those great emojis, somehow engaging with the post, you're automatically eligible to win our Patriotic Palette. It's valued at $47.99. So this is a really great sort of door prize for one winner today. So this Patriotic Palette comes with 10 spools, and it's an assortment of rayon threads as well as metallic threads. So the designs that are included in this palette showcase our original metallics, and I believe there is a hollow shimmer. I think that gold one, yes, is a hollow shimmer thread, which is one of our flat metallic threads. So these designs have little flecks of metallic running through them as well. And I have them all shown here again, as well as these are all the great designs you get with the Patriotic Palette. Freedom, America, Peace, America the Beautiful, another Uncle Sam hat, and then the American Sweetie Pie. This is an applique in the hoop design. So you will layer those applique fabrics for the frosting and the cupcake liner in the hoop of your embroidery machine. And I created a video to show you how that design comes together on a little tea towel. So I'm going to show you that video, and then we will go right to our, hold please. We will go right to our tutorial on the bucket bag embroidery and pattern modifications. So I just thought the American Sweetie Pie design would be another great choice for this bucket bag. But like I said, I'm going to show you this video where I am stitching it on a tea towel. Another just great, quick and easy, you know, gift for a hostess if you're going to a barbecue, or a towel in your bathroom, or any kind of patriotic decor. So here we go with the video, and I'll be right back to discuss the tutorial with you. All right. So I was going through our chat and there are lots of questions. So before we get to our bike bucket bag, which this is what we're going to be talking about momentarily, I'm just going to address the questions so we can keep up, and then I will share all of my pattern modifications and machine embroidery tutorial for this bag pattern. So there are some questions about working with metallic thread. Let me see if I can find those. First of all, Yvonne says, do I have to wait for the Patriotic thread set to come to get the designs? I would need them sooner than waiting for them to ship in the package. So you can contact our customer care at sulky.com and they can walk you through that. After your purchase is basically verified, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, the designs will go into your sulky.com account, so you can retrieve them there. We also offer the collection for Uncle Sam and those Patriotic Palette designs that I just showed you, the American Sweetie Pie being one of them. Those are available for individual purchase as well. All right, let's see. Love the cupcake. Okay. Kathy has a question about the pattern, which we will go through momentarily. She says, I just looked at the pattern and I see it attaches to the handlebars with Velcro. My question is whether you have a suggestion of something more heavy duty. I don't have confidence that the Velcro will hold if the child puts in a heavier toy. So that's a good point. I will say that for the photography for this, my daughter put in a full water bottle, a small like Nalgene water bottle. Maybe it holds 12 or 16 ounces, and a stuffy, and it held up fine. She even went on a bike ride with it afterwards, and now my kids, again, are fighting over something that I've made. But at any rate, it held up for that. There's a big piece of Velcro on it. So it spans the entire handlebar attachment piece, but you could also attach snaps. So you could use a snap setter and maybe do 4 snaps. And I think that would be a little bit stronger for you than the Velcro and really hold up over time. So you could try that as well. Cindy says, what is the difference between the metallic and the Polysparkle? All right, so Polysparkle, like I said, is a 30 weight thread, and it really sews like our regular poly deco thread, like as smooth as a polyester thread would sew in your machine. It has flecks of metallic running through it, so like a strand of metallic wound with the polyester. Our other metallic threads, Sulky Original Metallic, let's say, that's a round metallic thread that is a little bit coarser than the Polysparkle. We also have hollow shimmer and sliver metallic threads. Those are our flat metallic threads. And those are almost like small ribbons of metallic in that they are flat. So when you're sewing them, you have to make a lot more machine adjustments in order for your stitch out and your stitches to form properly in your design. Because as you can imagine, when the thread is winding off of the spool, I might be able to show you with this thick 12 weight thread I have next to me. When the thread is winding off of the spool, even whether it's in a horizontal or vertical orientation, it's twisting off of the spool. See that twist? So if you're sewing a metallic thread and your thread is twisting, you're going to get all these twists on that flat metallic thread. And over time, especially with high-speed machine embroidery, you might not even notice those twists are kind of building up on the thread, and it can snap on you just like that. So to avoid that, we actually want the thread spool going like this toward the needle. So in a horizontal position, but with the thread going into the direction of the needle through your machine, rather than twisting off and going through your machine. Does that make sense? So we have these magical notions at sulky.com. They are called the thread directors. We have the thread director 1, which fits 1 thread spool, and we have the thread director 2, which fits 2 thread spools, 1 on either side. You put the thread director on your machine. You can either put it, you can attach it on your spool pin if you have a vertical spool pin, and it attaches this way so that your thread looks like this. So that when it's unwinding, it's not twisting at all. If you don't have a vertical spool pin, you can put it on your bobbin winder as well. There's instructions for that come with the thread director. So it makes those flat metallic threads and even some other specialty threads go through your machine much smoother without all of those twists that can build up and cause your thread breakage. All right. But Polysparkle, I have never even used a thread director with it. It sews just like polyester thread. So, and it also, it doesn't have as sparkly as an effect as you would get with the hollow shimmer and the sliver and the pretty original metallic threads, but it gives it a subtle sparkle. Can you see the sparkle on the tire spokes? That is embroidered with the Polysparkle. So there's just little elements of these designs that have the Polysparkle in them. This one, it's on the spokes of the bicycle tires as well as the little balloons. So it's a little bit hard to see with the lighting I have in here, but just gives it a little bit subtle sparkle. Oh, it's also on the stars on the flag. So just some really cool thread effects that you can achieve. All right. Perfect for summer. Love it. All right. I think I'm caught up on the questions. I just saw those 2 come in. Teresa says, can they be sewed out on a multi-needle embroidery machine? And yes, they can. We actually had our digitizer do some samples using a multi-needle machine, and they came out beautifully. All right, so let's get to it today. I'm going to go with my very first step for the bike bucket bag. Again, this pattern is by Noodlehead. It's a free pattern. I linked directly to it in the description of the post today, so you can head on over to Noodlehead and grab the pattern pieces that you need and the full instructions for the construction of the bag. But I'm going to show you how I embroidered the bag and some modifications that I made to the pattern that I thought made it a little bit easier, a little more intuitive to put together. So first, we are going to hoop our fabric for embroidery. Now, I used the 5x7 design, I want to say, and I just reduced the size ever so slightly, I think by about 10%. You can also use the 4x4 design because each one of the Uncle Sam designs come in 3 sizes. So if you purchase just the Ride with Pride design, you'll get it in a 4x4 hoop size, a 5x7 hoop size, and a 9x10 or larger hoop size. So for this, you can use either the 5x7 design or the 4x4 design, and it'll fit across the front panel of the bucket bag. So my fabric piece I cut before embroidery because I didn't have a whole lot of this fabric, so I needed to kind of be a little conservative and cut my fabric before embroidery. So as a result, my fabric actually wasn't large enough to fit in my smallest hoop size after I cut it. It was just short on the top and bottom of the hoop perimeter. So what I did, instead of hooping my fabric with Soft and Sheer Extra, which is the stabilizer that I recommend for the quilting cottons that I used for this, I fused the Soft and Sheer Extra, and I actually use that as sort of the interfacing that the pattern calls for. Soft and Sheer Extra is a fusible, permanent cutaway stabilizer, really lightweight, and It's not really a substitute for interfacing, but I use it all the time. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a substitute for interfacing in this case. So I fused my Soft and Sheer Extra. And then, like I said, it wouldn't fit in the hoop. So I added an additional Soft and Sheer, not a Soft and Sheer Extra, but a Soft and Sheer. Soft and Sheer is a non-fusible permanent cutaway stabilizer. So the Soft and Sheer Extra, fusible. Soft and Sheer, non-fusible. I hoop my Soft and Sheer in the hoop alone. Then I make it tacky by spraying it with KK2000, Sulky's temporary spray adhesive. Now I can center and position, there I am spraying it. I can center and position my fabric right on the sticky stabilizer. So what I did was I just folded my fabric lengthwise, folded my fabric widthwise, and then I have a creased cross marks that I can use to center my fabric using my hoop markings. So a lot of the times your hoop markings are not dead center in the hoop. So it's important to make sure that your inner hoop is oriented properly and not upside down, because it'll fit upside down, right? Then it gets confusing if you use those as a placement tool. Now, if you like to use a little snowman sticker or a different kind of placement aid, by all means, use that. I have also seen people mark the stabilizer itself when you are going to be using a removable stabilizer where you won't see that mark anymore after embroidery is complete. You could put cross marks on your stabilizer and then match up your fold lines with those marked cross marks. So however you want to position your fabric so that your design is going to be dead center on your bag and oriented properly, you do you. All right. So once we have our fabric in place, simply put your hoop on the machine and begin your embroidery. Now I used a 9014 embroidery needle for the entire stitch out. You do need a 9014 needle for the Polysparkle thread because it is that thicker 30 weight thread and it has that little bit of metallic in it, which is going to cause a little bit of friction as it passes through the needle eye, especially with high-speed embroidery designs. So you can slow your machine down ever so slightly. You don't need to slow it down as nearly as much as you do when you're working with original metallic or those flat metallic threads, the hollow shimmer and the sliver. But you could slow it down ever so slightly just to make sure that you're going to have a beautiful stitch out. I used sulky bobbin thread in the bobbin in just a white color because I used a very, neutral kind of tannish off-white Kona cotton for my background fabric. So I chose a bobbin thread that matches my fabric really well. And you want to be sure, again, consult your stitch sequence chart that comes with your design files to know when and where you're using that Polysparkle thread, just in case your machine doesn't recognize it as a color number. And make sure during your stitch out that you are clipping those jump threads with each thread change so that they don't get hung up on the subsequent design colors. So here I am using my favorite curved tip squeezers. I linked to those directly in the post today. I talk about them all the time. I dare I say I have talked about them on every episode of Sew What, perhaps, but these are one of my favorite tools in my sewing room. I have about 3 pair of them. I have them in various sort of stations at my cutting table, at my ironing table, and right here next to my machine so that they're always at hand because, you might be ironing something and notice a jump thread that you missed and you can quickly clip that away. But what I really love about these is the tip is curved. So when you go in to clip those jump threads during a stitch out, you don't have the problem of nicking your fabric with the sharp points of your scissors because it is curved. So you can get right in there and get close to those design stitches without accidentally clipping through them. So these are relatively inexpensive, about $8 or $9 at sulky.com, and you won't regret it. Trust me. All right. One of my favorite tools too. Exactly. All right, so here is the completed stitch out, and you're just going to simply remove your hoop from the machine, take it over to your pressing station, and since I had to use that additional soften shear, you may not have to. If you are able to cut your front bucket bag piece after embroidery is complete, you can go ahead and hoop your fabric with the soften shear extra stabilizer. And that is all that you need to support the stitches of this particular design. If you are using a more stitch heavy design or one with a lot of stitch fill to it, you might find the additional soften shear stabilizer to allow for a more pucker free stitch out. If you have, a lightweight quilting cotton and it's trying to support all these stitches with like maybe a heavy monogram fill or something like this, you might want 2 layers of stabilizer like I did here, regardless of when you cut that pattern piece. But at any rate, when your embroidery is complete, if you have added the soften shear, simply trim it away a little bit beyond the design perimeter. And yes, I also cleaned up all those jump threads on the back of my embroidery design. I wasn't going to, I was going to be a little bit lazy about it, but then I decided, you know what, this is a lightweight fabric and I might see all those jump threads through that light colored fabric. So I better clean those up as well. So don't worry, I also clipped those after I cut my stabilizer away. And then you just want to give it a little bit of a press just around those hoop markings. Oops, I guess I don't have a picture of me pressing it, but just press away any, your center cross markings, or if you have hooped your piece, if it was large enough to hoop, just press away any hoop markings, but try to keep your iron away from the embroidery stitches, just as a general rule of thumb. All right, so I am going to get to my very first pattern modification because at this point we've added embroidery and we are ready to follow the noodle head instructions for constructing the bag. And you could certainly just follow those instructions and be well on your way to creating this bag. It is such an easy project. You could make this in an afternoon, maybe in a couple of hours, depending on the embroidery design that you choose and how long it takes to stitch that out. So in the time it takes you to watch a sew what, you could probably finish up your bucket bag. So the very first pattern modification that I did was, in the pattern instructions, it tells you to use a very stiff interfacing, like a Craft Tex interfacing. You can use a double-sided fusible stiff interfacing or a single-sided. The fusible is important though. I used single-sided fusible, and that was so that I could fuse it to the front pieces of the bucket bag and none of those pieces would shift around after the bag was completed. I did not do a double-sided, or maybe I did. I can't remember now. I just made this not long ago. It doesn't feel like my lining is fused. So I think I use a single-sided, but her instructions tell you to use a double-sided fusible and to fuse it after you have inserted it into the bag pieces. And I thought with the addition of machine embroidery that might be problematic. Your embroidery could kind of suffer or not be nice and flat if you fuse it after constructing that outer bag before you insert the lining. So she also tells you to construct the outer, then construct the lining, and then you insert your trimmed interfacing pieces into that outer bag, and then you kind of put your bag onto your ironing surface, or if you have a pressing ham, and you fuse it to the bag after it's constructed. So instead, I fused my interfacing to each piece of the outer bag. And to avoid pressing on my beautiful embroidery, I first used a little bit of KK2000 just on the back of the embroidered area, centered my stiff interfacing on that. And then from the right side, I used a pressing cloth and I lightly pressed my interfacing to fuse it. Now, if you have a double-sided fusible, that's going to be problematic for you because the other side maybe could fuse to your ironing surface if your iron is hot enough. But it is very, very thick, stiff interfacing, so you may not have that problem. At any rate, I fused my interfacing to each piece of the outer bag. You can see it's cut a little bit smaller than those pieces anyway, which allows you room to stitch. It allows you room for your seam allowances so that you're not including that stiff interfacing into your seam allowances. You basically stitch right next to the interfacing when you are constructing the outer bag. So now you have an outer bag that has really great structure to it. Then you're going to create your lining bag and insert it into the outer. Now, also, when I constructed the lining bag, I used a little bit wider seam allowance. She does not direct you to do this in the pattern, but I found that that allowed my lining to really sit in to the outer bag and be extra snug in there. It also allowed me to kind of get into the corners a little bit better. It just gives you a better fit with your lining. You know, the lining is absolutely snug in there. And you just want to make your seam allowance about 1/8 to 1/4 inch wider than the seam allowance you use for the outer bag. Another modification that I did, and I wonder if I have a picture of this one. Oh, there I am pressing out the embroidery. So I guess that was kind of, oh, maybe I'm fusing the interfacing from the right side. That's what I'm doing there. Oh, okay. I'll get to that in a minute. Sorry. Okay, so another modification that I did was for the base of the bag, I used a scrap that I had of faux leather. You could also use cork. You could use a heavy-duty canvas. I just thought that the base of the bag needed a little bit more, you know, sort of toughness to it because I know how my kids ride their bike. And even though this has great structure to it, and I still have the additional interfacing in the base piece, so it makes it really, really, thick. And you might need to use a top stitch needle when you're doing the construction if you add that to your base piece. And it's a little bit challenging to turn right side out, but that's the great thing about this stiff interfacing is even if it gets all wrinkled up and crazy, you can press out those wrinkles and smooth it out with your hands. And I mean, look how nice it is. It's absolutely fine, no wrinkles. So even if it looks wrinkly and crazy, don't worry, you can turn it right side out and it will keep its shape. So that's another great thing about that kind of interfacing. So you could choose a different fabric for your base. You could certainly just use the same fabric, which is what she recommends as well. Because of that additional interfacing, it's going to be nice and sturdy. But this gives it a little pop of color. And I happen to have this really random size scrap of faux leather, so it worked out for me. So if you don't have that, or if you have a piece of cork that you don't know what to do with, that could work as well. Cork fabric, that is. All right, so another thing I just wanted to mention was before adding your binding piece, this binding piece is a separate piece that you add after you insert the lining. You're going to add this nice contrast binding piece. It doesn't indicate this in the pattern, but I basted the entire upper edge before I added that binding piece just to make sure everything was nice and flat and together. And then I trimmed my seam allowance. I actually used a pinking shears because I like to just use my pinking shears. I have 2 pair. You know, what do we ever use them for? Things here and there. But anyway, that's why you'll see a little bit of a pinked edge there. So after basting, I trimmed my seam allowance, and then I removed my sewing machine attachment to use the free arm so that I could add my binding all in one stitch. and just go around and around that bag because it's rather small, as you can see. And so maneuvering it under your presser foot, stitching from the inside, very difficult with, depending on the height of your machine and the clearance that you have. So just remove that attachment and get on the free arm, and then you can stitch from the right side all along your binding edge, and it'll be nice and straight and perfect looking. So just another tip. Also, I did want to mention that in her instructions at noodlehead.com, she does not actually ever tell you to sew the side seams of the bag. It's just an oversight. It happens to me all the time on the blog. I forget a little step here and there. So I just wanted to mention that your very first step when you are constructing the bag itself, the outer bag, is to add this curved base piece. So you add it to one side, and then you add it to the back piece, and then you'll want to align the side seams and sew them. That's just a step that's missing in those instructions. So don't forget to sew the side seams. All right. So here we have the finished bag. It, like I said, comes together really, really quickly. And also, my daughter has a bike, you can see here, that I'll show you the back of the bag. There you go. You can see that her handlebars are not kind of separated, like they go all the way across and there's a bar in the middle. So once I got this on her bike, I thought, oh no, that bar in the middle is really going to interfere with the Velcro. Maybe I should have made 2 straps, just cut this in half basically and hemmed both edges and attach them that way, because you just top stitch this piece on. See my top stitching there? It's going through the entire back layer. I added this also before I added the lining. So there's no stitching inside holding this there. If you wanted that extra durability, maybe you would want to stitch through all layers for that handlebar piece, but I still suggest stitching it to the outer bag first. And then after you have your lining inserted, you can go over those same top stitching lines to just add some more reinforcement for your handle piece. Hindsight, I'm thinking of that. But at any rate, you could cut this in half and have 2 kind of loops with Velcro or snaps if you have a bike like this that it needs to fit. But I just wrapped it right around and left kind of the middle open for that little bar. So it was kind of like this on the bike. And as you can see, it still fit. Like I said, she's gone on several bike rides with this. So it works out for now. I'll let you know about the longevity, and you all can let me know as well. But make sure you go and examine the bike before you make this to make sure that, 1 strip of Velcro is going to work, or maybe you want 2 snaps, or maybe you want 2 loops instead of, just 1 handle strap. So lots of different ways you can kind of modify this based on your needs. All right, so Shirley says, so the bag doesn't droop due to the weight. So like I said earlier, my daughter had a full water bottle. It's either 12 or 16 ounces. I'm not sure. It's one of those small Nalgene's. Had a full water bottle and a stuffed animal inside. And the structure of this, that stiff interfacing really keeps it nice and sturdy and straight up and down. And you can also, if you're worried about that, I suppose you could move your handle strap up here a little bit so that it doesn't kind of droop forward. But I didn't find that was a problem because her bike also has that center bar. And so that was kind of stabilizing the bag as well. So again, examine the bike that you're going to be putting this on. Maybe just take a picture of how the handlebars are, so that if you need to make modifications to the back of the design, you're able to do so. I didn't even think about that, just made it as is. And I walked over to her bike and I was like, oh, wait a second. But it still worked. I still made it work. All right. Oh, Marcia says you could make 2 smaller size ones on each side of the handlebars. Why not? You could make one for your water bottle, one for snacks, keys, phone. That's a great idea. Okay, really cute bike bucket bag. And Carol says, I hope this is being recorded. So yes, every single So What episode that we do is saved on our Facebook page. You can watch them at any time. We also have a So What playlist on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, where you can watch all of the past So Whats. So after we go live, it'll go right to our YouTube page, and you can rewind, fast forward, pause, all of those good things. All right. Can the pattern be enlarged for an adult size? I don't see why not. I probably wouldn't go any larger than maybe 150% or 125% when enlarging. It looks small. And while I was constructing it, I kept thinking, like, is that really the dimension of the rectangle I'm cutting? But once you get it on the bike, you're like, oh yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good size. So of course, I imagine you could enlarge it for sure. But you know, make sure you enlarge all of the pieces. So your handlebar thingy, Velcro attachment is going to probably need to be a little bit bigger. And actually you could add some interfacing to this too. I wouldn't add the stiff heavyweight interfacing because it might be problematic going over the curves, but you could certainly add a medium weight interfacing or an additional layer. There's an interfacing in here already, but an additional or a little bit heavier weight interfacing, maybe like a decor bond type interfacing to this part of the bag, this handle part, so that it's not as sort of floppy, I guess. You could do that as well, especially if you're making a larger size bag. All right. Lining looks great. Thank you, Clovis. Perfect gift as the grands are both learning to bike ride. Exactly. They get so jazzed about it. I mean, my girls are almost 8, and like I said, they're fighting over this. And one of them already has a bike bag with a zipper on it, I will say. And she's like, it's old. I want this one. So, you know, whether you put a patriotic design on it or, like I said, a butterfly design or, you know, a superhero design and change up the fabrics for the recipient, totally up to you. I happen to love the patriotic spin on it because I think bike parades are so sort of quintessential for the 4th of July, and it really can work any time of year. All right. This would also be a great bag to attach to patio furniture to hold reading materials and phone, etc. Fantastic. Someone was asking, are there any other uses for this bag? You know, if you have a lounge chair or a beach chair that has, you know, sort of the what kind of material is it? Is it like wrought iron or whatever? I don't know what they're made out of, but you could clip this on the side or the back of the chair, hold your beach essentials, the chair that maybe you take to the soccer games or stuff like that. That's a great idea. You could put your water bottle, your phone, your keys. Mine are always falling out of my pockets when I'm at the soccer field. So that's a great little pouch type bag for that as well. Carol says, did you include your variations within the directions that you included? So all of the variations I just discussed are on the blog post at blog.sulky.com. I linked directly to the blog post in the description of today's post. And then the pattern, the full pattern instructions and the pattern piece to cut out that you need for this project are at the Noodlehead site. So I linked to that in the description of today's post as well. You'll see featured products, and the very first one says Bike Bucket Pattern. That'll take you to the Noodlehead site to get the pattern, and then you can come on over to the Sulky blog and use that pattern and read all of my modifications and machine embroidery instructions there. All right. Oh, Terry, great idea. She says this would be perfect for a walker too. Great, great idea. All right. Sheila says, is it better to cut jump threads on the back as you go along or wait till the end of sewing out the embroidery? So it really depends on how intricate your design is, how many different threads you're using, how many thread changes you have. If you have a lot of threads crossing over each other on the back of the work, it's going to be harder to trim those when your embroidery is complete. So a lot of the times I'll take the time when I'm clipping my jump threads on the top, I'll remove my hoop and also clip them on the back of the work as well. It all depends on the project. If I'm doing a tea towel and I'm going to see the back of that embroidery, I make sure to clip the jump threads on the back of the work the same time I'm clipping them on the front, because you could have some crossover or some colors that get hung up on each other, and then the back of your work is going to look kind of terrible. I mean, I'm sure you could recover from it and get in there with some tweezers, but that's going to take so much more time. And it would have just been, in hindsight, a great idea to clip those right when you clipped the top thread colors as you go. So it's also a personal choice to, I thought, I'm using white bobbin thread. I'm just going to trim these up a little bit when the embroidery is complete. But as you could see by the photo of the back of the embroidery I showed you, when trimming up that stabilizer, you could still see some of the colors of the thread on the back side for those jump threads. So, that's why in hindsight, I thought, oh my gosh, I better trim up the jump threads of my project to make this look a little neater in case I have show through on the right side. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Janice says, I agree. I clip as I go along. Clovis says, will your kids be in a bike parade? Yeah, every year my neighborhood has a little bike parade on the 4th of July, and the kids kind of come together and they do some crafts, and we get balloons and, stickers and cute little things that they can decorate their bike with. And we just kind of bike around the neighborhood, and some people come outside on their lawn chairs and watch the kids and kind of cheer for them. And, it lasts 5 or 10 minutes, but it's fun for them, and they get to all come together and have a popsicle. So yeah, that's kind of one of our traditions for the 4th of July. Is this not something that other people do? I'm curious to know. Do you all have bike parades in your neighborhood? Maybe we're just really lucky. Patty says, watching the tutorial of the American Sweetie Pie, and there was a spray to keep the fabric in place. What was that? So that was the Sulky KK2000 temporary spray adhesive. This is what I love to use for in the hoop applique. So just to make sure that your fabrics don't shift when you place them during your applique in the hoop, I just spray the back side of them with a little bit of KK2000. A little goes a long way, and then I position them on the background fabric. And it's temporary. So after your tacking stitches, when you need to get in there and trim away the fabric beyond those stitches, you can easily just lift it up, trim them with your applique scissors, and discard or save that fabric for another day. So it also is air soluble. So this spray adhesive will just dissipate into the air in about 24 to 48 hours, and it will leave no sticky residue on your project. And it's just a great, great, great spray adhesive. All right. Great project to use recycled denim. That is a great idea. I actually love the look of denim with red, white, and blue. It seems so Americana to me, and I think that's a wonderful idea. If you have an old jean jacket, or if you want to patch together some denim from some old pairs of jeans, you could have kind of a patchworky denim look to your bike bag, And then you could also add embroidery. And that denim is going to give it really great structure, much like canvas or the faux leather would. So that's a great, great, great idea. And I would love to see a photo of that. So if you do make that denim bike bag or any bike bag, I would love to see your creation and your take on this project. So be sure to join our Sulky Facebook group. It's called Sulky Stitch and Post. And there you can post pictures of your progress, pictures of your finished projects. You can ask questions to fellow sewers and to the Sulky support staff. And we're always in there kind of contributing and giving you special deals and all kinds of things. So there's lots of benefits to joining our Facebook group there at Sulky Stitch and Post. Everyone is saying like the denim idea, so that's a great idea. All right. Lots of people saying they used to have bike parades, golf cart parades. Now that's fun. I know, Linda says there are too many Sulky sites to remember. We just like to be everywhere and anywhere that you all like to be. Some people prefer Facebook, some people prefer YouTube, some people prefer to be on the private Facebook group rather than messaging us straight through Facebook. Some people prefer to be on Twitch to watch us on So What. So we just like to be anywhere that you might stumble upon us. So you can always just bookmark your favorite Sulky sites, whether it's sulky.com or sewingonline.sulky.com or here on our So What streaming sites. So hopefully to keep it easy, you can also use the same passwords that you use at sulky.com to log into sewingonline.sulky.com. You just have to set it up that way. And then hopefully it's easier for you to remember how to get to where you need to go. Sue says, I love the Stitch and Post group. All right. Okay, I think I'm all caught up in the comments. There's just one more thing I want to remind you all about. At the beginning of today's episode, I talked about how I'm going to be at American Sewing Guild Conference next weekend in San Antonio, where we will be unveiling the winner of our Casey Duffel photo contest. So I wanted to be sure and ask who out there belongs to a sewing guild, whether it's an American Sewing Guild, a quilting guild. If you belong to a sewing or quilting guild, we have some fantastic virtual guild-only events starting up here in October 2022. Our very first event is going to be our Strap Happy Tote with our All About Thread lecture. And Eric Drexler and I are going to be presenting this 4-hour-long event. It's going to be a lecture followed by a sew-along where I will take you through this awesome tote bag that has decorative straps. We're featuring our Blendables thread as well as our Polysparkle thread. We're going to create this really cool canvas tote bag that's going to be your go-to bag, and it's going to be a great time. So if you belong to a guild, you can get more information through the link in the description of today's post. We will also put it in the chat here, so you can head on over and get more information about these great events and how to sign up your guild, or forward the information to your guild representative or guild president so that they can sign you all up to access this awesome event. We're going to have awesome door prizes. I mean, it's going to be a huge splash. Then in March, we're going to be presenting our Crossbody Case Lounge and Learn virtual event. And this will have the Stabilizer Secrets lecture, followed by our sew-along of this awesome project. So this is a little crossbody case that's a little bit bigger than your phone, and carry your essentials, and it has this really cute pieced thread spool on it, so you can kind of give a subtle nod to your love of sewing with this crossbody case. So if you're interested in these projects and you belong to a guild, please get more information at sulky.com or head to the link in the comments and forward the information to your guild president or guild representative, and we would love to see you there. All right. Melanie says, I belong to ASG and will be helping with the conference here in San Antonio the end of this month. Melanie, come and find me. I would love to see you in person and we can chat. All right. Hilaria says, I am a new member in one of the sewing guilds in Michigan. Haven't been to a meeting yet. All right. Well, if you're interested in any of those projects, send those over to your guild representative and hopefully you can join us later this year and in the beginning of 2023. You can sign up for one or both of those events depending on the project or depending on the capabilities and interest of your guild. All right. Thank you so much, Christy. Christy says, as always, I learned something totally unexpected. I appreciate that so much. Thank you all for your comments. I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of So What? And next week, our So What will be moved to Friday. So if you will be looking for me next Tuesday, mark your calendar for Friday instead because I will be traveling to ASG. And on Friday, I will be coming to you live from the vendor hall to show you all about the conference and take you around and unveil our contest winner. So be sure, go and vote. Upload your Casey Duffel photos. I can't wait to see them. And have a great rest of your week, everyone. And I'll see you next time.